On today's episode, we give you all you need to know about the latest Xbox Game Showcase for July. This is the Gaming Casuals Podcast. Welcome to the Gaming Casuals Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things gaming from a casual perspective. We are your hosts, John.
I'm Brandon.
Guys, it's been a great couple of weeks for video games in the world at large, and we've got some incredible news coming at you from the Xbox Games Showcase this July. Tons of games, tons of huge announcements, but we're going to give you all the awesome news that you need to hear today. Brando, what do you think overall about the Xbox Games Showcase these past couple weeks?
So I was excited. Now, I know there's a lot of stuff out there. People are talking about their expectations and how it landed. I personally, when I watched that whole thing, I was giddy. I was excited. I thought they did a great job of a great showcase, a great demonstration there. Yes, it wasn't unbelievable. It wasn't something earth-shattering, but they did what I thought they needed to do, which was have a great, solid showcase, show some of these games, and I think they did. They had a great, they had a great lineup of games. I thought stuff that I was excited about. And of course, they started with the big dogs,
The big one.
Halo Infinite.
Halo Infinite, baby, it's here.
And I will say, I thought the way they started the showcase, personally, was awesome. They did exactly what they said. They said, we're going to have an hour of just games. That's it. No other stuff. No talking about the console.
No prices.
Talking about all that other stuff. Yeah, exactly. We'll get that later. But nothing else. I mean, we really had very minimal talking from, the Xbox team and the developers, which is really cool. It's just games for the most part. What did you think?
I think overall, I was, like you, super excited.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can't go wrong with starting off with the Halo Infinite campaign trailer. Like, it was just phenomenal.
Yes.
And, I think the hype had its ebbs and flows, but overall, just super excited about a lot of cool games that are coming out this year, especially new stuff from Obsidian, which we'll talk about, and of course, Fable. Fable is coming back. We already knew it was happening, but they finally released their trailer for it.
That was the one more thing at the end, which we were hoping it was going to be something like that.
Yes, and then we're super excited about what it has to offer. And what I love most about it is the vast majority of these games are going to be on Game Pass.
Well, actually, they said everything that was announced in that showcase was on Game Pass. Game Pass or free to play. We're going to get these games if you already have a subscription, which is awesome.
Which is super great because that's one thing that PlayStation doesn't offer you.
Yes.
And
let's be fair. They have PlayStation Now. And it is a similar service, but it is nowhere near that same level of polish as Game Pass, in my opinion. So.
Right. So anyway, just to make it all just super excited about what's going to happen, especially being a longtime Halo fan. It is about time.
Yes.
I liked Halo 5. It was fine, but Halo Infinite, we've been all clamoring for. But let's just start off with Halo Infinite.
Okay.
Let's get the cat out of the bag, the elephant out of the room. Halo Infinite. We had 8 minutes of glory. Just one of the biggest trailers ever. They just went through the campaign. They said it was a few hours into the campaign of Halo Infinite, and they went through this whole process. Let's break it down, Brando. What did you like? What didn't you like?
So, again, like I said, when they started the actual showcase with the press menu to start demo, I thought, man, they are just jumping straight into it. It felt so good. I got those feels. I was excited. Now, yes, it is not something... I thought it was pretty, but, and again, watching it the first time, I was just amped because I'm a Halo fan, and I was ready to see this. It was not that earth-shattering, reveal as far as graphics, because again, the Series X is being touted as the most powerful console ever, more powerful than the PS5, so they say on paper. This wasn't looking like, a Ghost of Tsushima type kind of thing, but for me, I didn't mind it. I was watching this and I was sucked in to the gameplay. It just brought back all those Halo 1 feels, which is what they were trying to do. I'm excited to see how they started this story. Halo 5, like you briefly mentioned, it kind of got out there in left field.
I want to play the Chief.
Exactly.
I want to play the Chief only, Brandon.
Exactly. I honestly don't remember much of that campaign, but I like that they kind of jumped into...
Spartan Locke.
Yeah, I do remember that. But they jumped in with a game that looks like it could be for anybody to pick up at that, if they haven't played the last few games or not, if they have. They said they will continue the story in some way, but it is going to be a great launching point for anybody who wants to jump into the Halo universe. And it is open world, is what it looks like from the map that we got. We have a map, and we have objectives that we can go to in any order, it looks like. So that's something that is really exciting for Halo. I like that they're going this new direction. With this new direction, this also graphical art direction they have as well. It is something that some people like. Some people may not think is all that impressive, but we will see, because the game is still a work in progress. It's not like it's done. We still have a lot of time before potentially November is when the rumor that it's coming out. So, I don't know. What'd you think?
I mean, what I really appreciate about the trailer, and I think it's important to talk about the philosophy of the Master Chief as a whole, because first off, Halo has kind of been, when you go to buy an Xbox, you buy it to play Halo. And that's how it was when Xbox was first released. Halo 1, the original, just shattered expectations across the board. We'd never seen anything like a sci-fi shooter like this before. Yes. It was incredible. And I think Halo 2 was the epitome of that consoles gen. Like, Halo 2 was the perfection of a lot of features that we saw
Xbox
in
Live.
Halo. I mean, it was perfect.
It was great.
We saw whole movements in competitive play. Mm-hmm. We saw communities rally around this game. It was just a huge deal for a lot of us growing up. And I think trying to find a way of acclimating new players, new people from a whole new generation is really important to Microsoft, because we haven't had a Halo title in, about 3 consoles. We had the Xbox One, where Halo 5 got released. Mm-hmm. Then we had Xbox One S, the digital edition, and the Xbox X, right? Or the One X.
The One X, yeah.
And so we've been a long time coming without
5 years, I think, since
a decent Halo game.
5, yeah.
And we've had stuff like Halo Wars and some of the other the Halo mobile games and all that jazz. And
Spartan Assault.
It just wasn't the same as being able to play the Master Chief. And the fact that they're bringing Master Chief back, it's a really great thing. But
they did hammer the fact that it is Master Chief. You are playing as him, no question about it. They've made that very clear.
Yeah, and what's really great is with the current ability to play Master Chief Collection, you have access to all kinds of games. And if you have Game Pass, you can play Halo 5 as well. And they said that it's going to be some, like you said, a continuation somewhat of the Halo 5 story. You guys can burn through those campaigns if you want. But essentially, it's going to be the Halo that a lot of us have been clamoring and waiting for. And what's cool is that it looks really great. Some things that stuck out to me, of course, we have a new enemy.
Yes.
It's the Banished. Yes. It's a brute faction.
Well, new enemy. It is not new for those who have played Halo Wars.
Right.
Halo Wars 2, I think it was, I have not played it, but from what I hear, Halo Wars 2, their enemy, the Banished, was the enemy in that game. So it is kind of cool for those who are fans of the series to have that, but we've never seen this faction in a mainline Halo game. So it is kind of cool. They have some of those little Easter eggs for fans of the universe. So
yes. And I think another thing that stuck out to me was that the gunplay, super duper clean. You'd expect that from a Halo game. What Halo 5 did really, really well is that although the graphics weren't amazing, it maintained consistent 60 frame play.
Yeah.
And it was really a whole lot of fun to play Halo that way. And looking at the trailer, it looks like it's no different. Just super clean gameplay. The gunplay looks great. My favorite gun that they picked out was the VK-78 Commando. It was like their full auto DMR. And it was just like, it just shredded people. And they picked up a new shotgun, and I wasn't a huge fan because I miss my Halo 3 shotgun, my Halo 4 shotgun.
I'm hoping they still have some of those old weapons still in there. We'll see.
But also some cool features. Yes. Brando, a grappling hook.
Grappling hook.
Like what?
That's awesome. Okay, so I'm always a big fan of these little things they'll add into it. I liked seeing it. I like the fact that you can use it to traverse. Again, the environment is going to be, from what it looks like,
it's meant to be open world. So you need to have things that
exactly, just like with Breath of the Wild with Zelda. You have the paraglider, whatever it was, which is a cool mechanic for traversal. This seems like it could be a cool a way to get around the map, but also for combat. You could use it to get closer to your enemies. You can use it to pull those little explosive crates that you could throw at enemies. Stuff like that was really cool to see how they were going to use that. I'm very excited to see how it works in gameplay. It looked like it was on a cooldown timer, which was interesting. And that's another thing, too, talking about how the game's going to work with it being open world. They didn't get too much into that, but if you saw the map they had open, there was a section for upgrades.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It doesn't sound like it's going to be some kind of like level up system. It looks like it's going to be more of based around weapon upgrades, maybe something to do with those grappling hook, the items and stuff like that. If there are items in the game, they did have like a drop wall or something where it says you acquired this.
The weird bubble shield like thing that wasn't actually a bubble shield.
Yeah, but you can shoot through it. So I'm like, hey, that's cool with me.
Right.
So
Halo 3 beta.
Exactly.
Anyway,
but no, I'm excited about that. Again, it's changing up the format a little bit. I like that. Again, open world Halo sounds really cool. I'm excited to see what they do, and it does sound like this is going to be from what the developers have said. It may be the last Halo will get because this may be just an ongoing service.
Right, and they did say they want this platform to fit the next 10 years of Halo.
So I don't know what that means. Does it mean we're going to be stuck on that Halo ring forever? Who knows? I don't know.
Well, there are lots of rings, Brando, so you never know.
That's true. But I'm excited.
Now, granted, you can take or leave Halo's campaign. A lot of people have really enjoyed it, but as campaigns have progressed, and especially the game world and our culture, you could definitely tell that Halo's campaigns don't always age super duper well, which is why I've been gravitated toward multiplayer. Yes. And that is a big thing with any Halo game, is the multiplayer has always been just phenomenal. Like being able to, get that hero moment, sniping some enemy across Blood Gulch with the flag was always just a big thing, or running over people with the Warthog. It's all there, but they didn't have a whole lot of info about the multiplayer. We did get a 2-player local split screen.
Yes, for co-op.
For co-op, and a 4-player online multiplayer.
Yes.
But we didn't hear a lot about versus PvP.
I think they're going to, and I like that they're doing this, they're not going to give away everything all at once. They're giving little bits of information as the months go by. I think they're going to come out with more information on multiplayer soon. And it is something that they did come out and say, because there was a rumor out there. People were talking about, Halo Infinite may not launch with multiplayer. It may just be campaign only. Developers said, nope, forget that. That is not true. Halo will have multiplayer at launch, which of course, I think if they didn't have that, they should delay the launch, because Halo is known by its multiplayer.
And Halo 5 multiplayer is still going strong. Yes. A lot of people out there are still playing Halo 5 multiplayer.
Yes, exactly.
Really, really, really want Halo Infinite to have great multiplayer. And we think that just based on iterations, Halo 4 was when they did the big shits from Bungie. They did a great job in Halo 4. Halo 5 had some things that we did like, some things we didn't like. It was better than Halo Reach because we didn't get the armor lock,
But their multiplayer, I will say, Halo 5 shortcomings was on the campaign side. The multiplayer was probably the best multiplayer package since like Halo 2.
Right, and having cool things like Warzone has really helped the Halo franchise. But we aren't going to get... I don't think we're going to get a Halo Battle Royale. Let's hope not.
I will say,
don't dilute the brand.
Things can totally change, but I think a while back, months and months ago, I think one of the developers at 343 said the only BR you're going to see in Halo was the battle rifle.
Exactly.
So,
thank goodness.
We'll see,
and hopefully the Halo 2 BR, because that was the best one.
Now I will say, talking about Halo Infinite again, there are criticisms out there, and again, it's not something that's all sunshine and rainbows. People did say, because it was a mixed reaction. Again, I was excited. I know you were excited. We are fans of Halo, but we're not blinded by that. Some people did say and criticize the graphics, and I know we mentioned it earlier. That is something that is interesting they're going to do. They did announce that there is going to be a ray tracing update for Halo Infinite that will come after launch. Now, that's going to be interesting, because this is one of those things that, going into the whole games showcase, this was Microsoft's time to show off what the Xbox Series X can do. Now, I thought the game looked fine. I did not look at it and go, that was whatever. But I'm a fan already. I'm a fan of Halo, so I was just excited to see the game finally. But what people are saying online is that it may not have looked the best to what we would expect from the best, most powerful console ever made. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that we have to worry about that, or is that something that Halo will be fine? We'll be okay. We're going to look back on this and go, it was no big deal.
Yeah. So I would say that you're right. It is kind of odd that Xbox would push this massive title and not have the kind of graphic resolution that we would expect from another AAA title. Like, I think Cyberpunk's going to beat Halo out of the park.
Sure.
As far as graphics go. I will say, though, coming from a typically more competitive Halo background, it is so important that everything works perfectly smooth in a Halo game. And what I do enjoy about Halo 5 more than anything is that game is stable. Yeah. Like that game will not drop frames. Yeah. Like I've seen drop frames in a lot of games like Destiny and Call of Duty and like all these other titles that really can hose PvP as well as the experience as a whole. And I'm almost excited that what it seems to be from this campaign trailer, that Halo Infinite will be just as stable as Halo 5 is. And that's a lot of stuff that goes into developing a world of that size and having the kinds of graphics that require. Like games like Ghost of Tsushima, although beautiful and gorgeous, and you're running off PS4 hardware, it could experience issues. But with Ghost of Tsushima, it wasn't as big of a deal because you were just alone. And melee combat, just by nature, there aren't as many particle effects happening. There aren't as much stuff going on in the background as Halo would. But what's interesting to me and what will be the telling factor is, can Halo Infinite, despite its graphics, maintain the kind of interest that, it already has garnered, but I think from a player who plays Halo mainly just for the experience of Halo, I don't think those graphics will be an issue to me, but I can definitely see to some people like, hey, I wanted a first-person sci-fi game that looked actually decent. And I think it looks good enough. I don't think it looks amazing, but I think it looks great for what we're expecting from a Halo game.
And I agree. I agree with you 100%. And I do want to preface, it is a game, work in progress. It's something that they showed early. It's only July. If November, that's still months away. So they could definitely improve that before then. And I think you're right, too. The graphics, I don't play a Halo game because I want to see unbelievable, drop-dead gorgeous graphics. I don't think that is its selling point. And so that's why, you hear a lot of criticism about it. It's like, yeah, you know what? Maybe that one brute named, I think they're 343 has kind of gotten in on it, named Craig. There was a brute that was literally in there that had a very just somber expression, and now it's full of memes and stuff. But I think that kind of stuff, it's like, whatever. It's fine. There are tons of games out there that are amazing. I think of like Fallout games. Those games aren't drop dead gorgeous, and they are buggy. There's bugs galore on that, but it's still a fun game. It's that kind of universe is great. I think Halo is all about the gameplay. It's all about that multiplayer. I do like the story. I hope that Infinite kind of gets back to that original Halo 1, 2, 3 story as far as the way you feel about it. So to me, that's why I play. And again, if they're going to come out with something like a ray tracing update later, that's all gravy to me. I'm excited about that. But it's something that, like you said, 60 frames a second, they've already announced it's going to be locked in there. It's going to be buttery smooth. And it looks, I think, totally fine. And that's one thing too, ray tracing may actually do wonders for the way it would look as far as next gen graphics. Because look back at the Minecraft demo they had a while back. Just adding that little ray tracing thing to it made Minecraft look like a totally different game. So I think having those effects could really liven up that environment for those who are maybe kind of down on Halo because of the graphics.
Right, and you have to look at games as an art form as well, and I think that's important. We can go into philosophy and all that, but to make it simple, Halo, there's a lot of games out there that focus on hyper realism. And you think about games like, Outer Worlds, or games that are just like developed like graphically. It's become an art form, and it's become a way to express the game's motifs and all that jazz. Halo has never been a hyper realistic game. It's never been that way. It's always been more of a smooth, kind of polished game, but it's never been super definitive. And I think that adds to the magic of building Halo's narrative around its story instead of its game world, which I don't disagree that we expect more from a game like this, but I think it's important to understand that being able to sculpt a game world is as much about the art form reflecting back on the game as a whole than just trying to simply focus on how great of a looking game can we make this just for the sake of making it look good. Yeah. So that's more of a nerdy take, but there you go.
So as far as the next games, because like you said, it wasn't just all about Halo Infinite. The next game they talked about, which is kind of a surprise, they started off on this girl in the woods. It was a very
I know
cool
what this
trailer.
Game is.
Yeah, but the time of, I was thinking, what is this? Is it going to be some kind of like new, third-person action adventure game?
Tomb Raider, but she's not Lara
Lara Croft.
was
thinking it was Tomb Raider type kind of game, but it was State of Decay 3.
State of Decay 3, yeah.
I honestly didn't expect this one so soon. I guess so soon. State of Decay 2, I don't remember when that came out, but I feel like they're still supporting that game through Game Pass. But it looked really cool. I don't know. Again, it was just a CGI trailer, but it was a really unique feel. I thought, again, it invoked those Tomb Raider feels for me. I don't know if it's going to be the same kind of survivalist gameplay with State of Decay 2, or if it's going to be something new. But that was a cool kind of a palate cleanser after Halo.
Yes, and I never played a State of Decay game, but just based on that cinematic trailer, like it looked really interesting.
Yeah,
like you would never expect. We're not going to spoil the trailer for you. We recommend going and watching it, but like the ending was like, wow, this game looks interesting, and we all love a good zombie survival game. Okay, and
there's a lot out there.
There's a lot out there, and it'd be interesting to see how State of Decay kind of takes maybe two and expands on it, or maybe they're going a whole different route. We really don't know a whole lot of information.
It definitely was more kind of. I feel like from the trailers of 2 to this, it was definitely a different tone, which was unique. But they went, and again, this is a great thing about the Xbox Game Showcase, in my opinion. It was a solid presentation because they had something for everybody. Because after that, they went into Forza.
Yes, Forza Motorsport.
Forza, it was amazing to see. Now, this is unique because usually there is a Forza game every year, whether it's Forza Motorsport or Forza Horizon, back and forth. This was interesting because this is the year for Forza Motorsport. It would have been Forza 8 or Forza Motorsport 8. But it's not coming at launch.
No,
which is interesting. And I'm fine with that because we have so many games. But this one's also not called Forza Motorsport 8. It's just Forza Motorsport.
Yeah, they're doing that whole Call of Duty.
Yeah, so are they kind of not rebooting it? It's a driving game, and the Forza Motorsport series is more of that simulation racing. It's not the Horizon series, which I personally
the Need for Speed racing.
Yeah, I like the open world. You go and you have all the different tricks and stuff you can do. The Motorsport series is more of that sim racing.
Drive your 400 laps, sit on your couch with your wheel.
Exactly, and it's they're all beautiful, but these games are so pretty. And this is the kind of game that's like when you want to show somebody the power of the Xbox, this is the one that you would show.
And they have announced it's gonna be native 4K resolution and 60 frames per second on Series X.
Yes, so that's exciting. The trailer they showed, the little CG. Well, that wasn't CG.
No, it was gameplay.
It was
footage.
gameplay. That was actual in-game engine footage. It was amazing. So it is really cool to see that. But I am shocked that it's not going to be a launch title. So they're working hard on it. Hey, I am all down for make the best game you can make. We can all wait, especially as a casual gamer. I don't have time already to play these games. So if you want to make it take a little bit more time to make this game truly amazing, I'm all for it.
I know a lot of you guys out there maybe have played the Gran Turismo series. I got started with racing simulators on Forza Motorsport 1, the very original on Xbox 360, and it was great. Like, I love that game so much. I had been playing, Need for Speed Underground and all these weird, like more like Forza Horizon games where you are an adventure game, but you have a car, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And Forza Motorsport just changed the racing world for me. Like, I was learning about cars that I had no idea even existed. Like Ford Mustang Boss, 1968, still my favorite car, my go-to muscle car in any muscle car cup. Anyway, just so you guys know, but Forza Motorsport, I'm super excited. The fact it's going to be on Game Pass it's going to be perfect.
Yeah, and that is exciting because again, this whole game showcase was really, in my opinion, a showcase on why you need Game Pass, because everything that was announced, I think they said it was 22 games they had at this showcase. They're all going to be either Game Pass or free to play, so you will be able to play them if you have a Game Pass subscription, which is awesome. So that's the nice thing about this is Forza, just like all the other first-party games, are going straight into that day and date. I can't wait for that. But going into the next game, and there's a lot of games they talked about after this, but one of the things, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, that's been out. It's a beautiful game. If you haven't played it, go play it. It's on Game Pass, so you have no excuse if you're already a subscriber. I loved that game. It was so good. And they announced that there is going to be a Series X version of that as well, which, of course, you'll get because it's in Game Pass. It's a smart delivery game, but they're going to have 120 frames per second. I have not played a game at 120 frames per second that I know of, and they did a little demo of it. It was just a little side-by-side clip of a game at 60 frames, which already 60 frames per second is like the
really
standard.
Impressive.
And that's impressive right there. I think the game's already at 60 frames per second, if I'm not mistaken, and they had it slowed down 60 frames versus the 120
so
frames.
Much more fidelity.
And because you can't really show that
almost double
on YouTube or something. And it was so cool to see how it compares. So smooth. I am very excited to go back. I'll go back and I 100% of the game. I'll go back in and play that again because I want to. I say 100% of the game. Yeah, I did. Sorry.
He's 100%.
I 100% of the game. I was thinking achievements, and I did not do that. That game got hard achievements, but I went in there and I did everything you could do in the game, and I will go back in and play again just to experience the 120 frames per second and the audio technology they talked about. They talked about some cool things there too. So pumped about that. But it's not a new game. There were more new games they did talk about. Stuff like. What was it? There was.
Let's talk about the big stuff from Obsidian, Brandon.
Yes, Obsidian.
We have Avowed and Grounded.
Avowed, okay.
And don't forget Outer Worlds, Peril of the Gorgon.
Yeah, let's do that because that was the first they talked about. Outer Worlds, Peril of Gorgon. It's the new DLC for Outer Worlds. I loved Outer Worlds.
It's a good game.
For a
free Game Pass game, it's a lot of fun.
Exactly. And I thought it was great. I'll jump back in there and play the DLC because, again, it's included. Watch
the trailer on this game. It is hilariously good.
It's one of those, again, it's an Obsidian humor, which is great. And that's something that carried into the second game they talked about, Grounded, which I think is out now. I saw a little notification on my Game Pass app saying you can download Grounded and play now. But that was a really funny trailer.
Yes, I thought, Grounded had a great trailer.
I think since they announced Grounded back last year, when people were excited about the next Obsidian game and they announced Grounded, it's like this, again, very childlike, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids type game,
yes, exactly
where
like
you
that.
are, the size of an ant, and you are going around in the backyard, building forts and stuff like that. They've announced it late last year, and people were kind of like, "Oh, that's what Obsidian's doing." I thought we were doing something else.
Give me something good, Obsidian.
Yeah, and their trailer totally played up on that. It was self-deprecating, and I think they said, if you're waiting for the biggest game of the year, wait for Cyberpunk. Right. And it's like, oh, that's hilarious.
So good.
And it's like, if you're waiting for the smallest game, Grounded. And they had some really good Obsidian humor in that, which to me was like, okay, you won me over with that. I like that. I'll give it a shot.
We'll humor you. I'll wield my pencil with my eraser and attack some bugs.
And it's fun. Again, I'm a dad of 3, so I think my kids might like that.
Good,
they
clean
like the
games.
trailer.
We need those good, clean games.
Exactly. But of course, they ended there. They had 3 games they talked about, but the final one they talked about is one that I think we're going to
Azuric Rise of Parathia 2.
I
Just kidding.
Game.
Just kidding.
That.
We're not.
But no, Avowed.
Avowed.
This is really exciting because this is, it looked like Obsidian's take on Skyrim.
Skyrim or
Elder Scrolls type game.
Any Elder Scrolls game.
Yeah. And this is something that I didn't expect. I wasn't sure what they had because then they just talked about 2 other games, which was really cool. But this is the big RPG that they've been working on. And I think this is going to be a real big game changer for Microsoft because Skyrim was amazing. And I know it was made by Bethesda, but
Bethesda has kind of been like this. It's on the downward trend for a while. And seeing a new game like this from Obsidian.
Yeah.
They could totally pull it off.
Because Obsidian did have a part with the Fallout series with New Vegas. So they're and then Outer Worlds was very similar to that Bethesda RPG style. So it'd be really cool to see what they do with Avowed, especially since it's going to be years till we get Elder Scrolls 6. I mean, it's going to be a long time.
We'll never get Elder Scrolls 6.
I don't think they announced who knows? I don't think they announced when Avowed is coming out, but just to know that it's coming, it is an Xbox exclusive. We're going to be getting that. I think that is going to round out their portfolio very nicely.
And I'm super excited about Avowed because there aren't a lot of good Skyrim-esque games out there. Like,
Yeah.
when was the last time we had a really good Skyrim-esque game? Probably has been a very, very long time.
I mean, literally.
Right, Skyrim. And Skyrim is not The Witcher. Skyrim is not any of these other open world games that have come since then. We really need something like this in the genre, and I think Avowed could just take the cake on this.
I'm excited because, I mean, everybody and their mom knows what Skyrim is, and you can play it on pretty much anything, including, I think, Alexa. So if
you
Skyrim
can
was that
play it
big,
on Alexa,
you can. It is interesting. So, but it'll be good to see what Obsidian does with Avowed. So, going into after that, there were a lot of games they talked about. They kind of showcased little games here and there. Some were console exclusive launches or console first world premiere, whatever it was, where they might have been on PC before. But there was a lot of things. Just list off a few things and stop me if you have anything to talk about. But they talked about a new game called As Dusk Falls. That's a new interactive storytelling drama. It was interesting.
I haven't never been a huge fan of like really blatant story-driven games. Like, I have never gotten into Telltale. Like, I'm just not a Telltale guy. But it looked like a really interesting, very human story.
Yeah.
And it looks really interesting.
Yeah, it was. They showcased a little bit of animation on that, very much like an animated storybook, essentially. I'm curious to see what it will look like with actual gameplay. There was no HUD. It didn't look like there was any... It was essentially a trailer, but I believe it was also what the game is going to look like. So I'm interested to see how that works. I enjoyed Telltale games. I loved the Borderlands, Into the Borderlands, or whatever it was called. That one I loved. A lot of the
they had a Batman one. They had
all kinds.
Walking Dead.
Yep, exactly. And so there was a lot of good ones there, and I enjoyed the story-based games just to kind of just kick back and enjoy a nice story. So it'll be interesting to see what this is. It's not Telltale, and just that's the kind of storytelling type media that they're talking about. So there's that. They had games like Stalker 2, The Medium.
Yes, the Medium looks really sweet.
I think is
that's an exclusive to Series X.
Yep, that's what they said.
And it pretty much, I think you're a detective. It feels like you're a detective.
Yeah. All I know is the coolest thing about that.
Yes.
Was they said what did they call it?
Like a 2-world render. Like a vertical 2-screen render of 2 simultaneous worlds.
Yeah, where you could go, if I remember correctly, you can go back and forth between these 2 worlds, like I guess the real world and this nightmare world or whatever they call it. Where you go back and forth, I'm assuming, whenever you want to, because they're rendering both these worlds at the same time. To me, that reminded me a little bit of like Halo 2 Anniversary, where they had the back button.
Hot swap games.
Yeah, you could literally you're playing the game, and if you want to see what the graphics look like back in the old days, you could hit the back button, and it literally flips you over to the classic game graphics for Halo 1 or Halo 2, and it was rendering both at the same time, everything. So that's what it reminded me of there. So it's interesting to see the technology behind this game. Don't know really what's about. Looked kind of spooky.
Right.
Like one of those horror. Yeah, a little horror game. They had a lot of horror games.
They did.
They have a lot of horror games coming out, it looks like, because they didn't talk about what they talked about last time, which was like Scorn, which is one of those really creepy looking games.
And we can't forget like Hellblade 2 is definitely going to be there too, and that's more horror than anything else.
Exactly. And they were, that was an interesting side note too. Hellblade Senua's Saga was at the game showcase, but they didn't actually show anything about it because they've already talked about it before. They just kind of said, hey, we're still here, don't forget about us. But yeah, they have a lot of these horror games.
We're going to Iceland. No, I'm just kidding.
Exactly. But it is interesting to see another thing that I think could be really cool about this game. Did you ever play Titanfall 2's campaign?
No, I only played the multiplayer for Titanfall.
Titanfall 2, Titanfall 1 didn't have.
Yeah, it didn't have a campaign.
It didn't have a campaign. Yeah. So Titanfall 2, I think it's a phenomenal campaign, a great story, and one of the levels in there was so cool because you had this little time machine device strapped to your arm, and it was only for one level, which was kind of unique. I wanted more of it, but you could literally flip back and forth between the present and the past at any given time, and there were puzzles because again, you can wall run in that game where you would wall run, and your wall is going to end, and you would jump, and you could flip back into the past, and there would be another wall you could land on and keep your motion continuing. A lot of cool puzzles like that in that level. This kind of reminded me of that in a way where I could see puzzles where you couldn't get past certain places unless you flip back to the other world. I don't know if that's how it is because we just saw a brief glimpse into this, but it's one to look forward to. And again, it's Game Pass, so launch title there. So,
and one game I'm really looking forward to is actually Warhammer 40,000, the Darktide game.
Yeah, that one was an interesting trailer too. That was the one where it was just a group of 4 guys.
Yeah, a group
right?
of 4 guys
and,
underneath. This.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, this horde of enemies, right?
Yeah, that looked really exciting. Yeah. And I think another game that's in there's no aliens in this game, but another game that was announced, Crossfire X.
Yeah.
Like it really looks like a really immersive, counter ops, intelligence ops kind of a game. And it kind of reminded me of a little bit of like a Metal Gear vibe. Yeah. But obviously it's going to be first person.
Sure.
But it looked really, really fun, really immersive.
And they also had the Gunk, which I know I mentioned briefly. It was like
clean
one
up
of those,
the world.
Yeah, again, it's one of those games that look like it'd be fun. It has that very childlike quality to it. And again, I am not opposed to this. Again, being a dad, I need something to play with my kids. So again, it would be really cool to see more of this. But this whole showcase, I thought it did a great job of doing things, showing what the diversity of what Xbox can bring. Again, they have 15 game studios. Oh, Psychonauts 2. Totally forgot about that. That's a unique one too. Double Fine is now an Xbox Game Studios studio, and and I'm very excited about that. I really enjoyed the first one when it came out years and years ago, so it's going to be interesting to see this. This is not an exclusive to Xbox because they were making this before they were acquired, so it will be on the PS5, I think, or whatever. It's going to be on other consoles, but it is going to be coming to Game Pass, which is exciting. But all of these games, I felt like did a good job of showcasing the diversity that Xbox had. And it did
a game for everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and we can't end our conversation with this without talking about.
We can't end without talking about this incredible game that we're about to mention.
Yes, Playground Games. They have been working on a game. Playground Games, by the way, does Forza Horizon series. So it's a car game, right? No, they've been working on the worst kept secret. Fable.
Yes,
it's here.
Fable's back, everybody.
Fable is back. Woo! It is so exciting to see this. Playground, again, it's something new for them. But I'm excited to see their take on it because they have the ability, from what the trailer showed, they understand.
They know the audience of Fable. They know the audience of Fable.
Fable had that
humor. Tongue-in-cheek.
Yes. It was a very
British quality.
Yes, it's a very British game. There, a very fun fantasy world. I know when Fable kind of started going towards like Fable 3, I know that the creators of that kind of regretted going too far into the future with that. It was very steampunk-ish feel for Fable 3. It looks like they're going back to the basics with Fable. This is not Fable 4. It is just Fable, a reboot of the series, which makes complete sense.
Fable, Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Whatever the other one was.
Forza Motorsport.
Forza Motorsport.
Yeah, all these things. It is kind of cool to see what they do with this. I don't know. They didn't show any gameplay. This is going to be a game that's still a ways away.
But watch the trailer. Was really good.
Yeah, the CG trailer
was
fun. That was as soon as the announcer or the narrator. Thank you. The narrator was speaking. You could kind of tell. It's like, oh, this is going to be it. This is going to be it. They've been teasing this for a while.
The worst kept secret.
Yes, exactly. And then, of course, the little fairy flying around, and it's a fun trailer, and it definitely shows
captures that essence.
Yeah. So I'm excited, but that will be coming to an Xbox console in the future.
Brandon, there have been a ton of incredible game announcements from Microsoft during this past showcase. Yes. Guys, every one of these games, you need to go watch the trailer. We'll totally link a bunch of the trailers in the description. They're a whole lot of fun. Watch the Halo Infinite, watch the Fable, watch the Avowed especially. They're all looking really good. We're going to take a step back and go through some actual gaming news outside of the Xbox Game Showcase.
Sounds good.
One thing that's important, though, there's a game that came out last week called Ghost of Tsushima. Don't know if you guys have played it yet. It's incredible, and we made a really great review on it. You should totally check it out. The link is in the description below. Ghost of Tsushima is a game you need to play, and our review tells you why.
Sounds good.
Along with that, I'm going to get kind of miffed at Square Enix for a second. They did announce a Square Enix game called Balan Wonderland, and it's a really special time. I won't link the trailer in the description because it's not worth your time, but If you guys didn't know, Final Fantasy 15 has been out for a long time. It came out 2 or 3 years ago. They have the Royal Edition now. You can play it on Game Pass. Nice. It's a good Final Fantasy 15 title. It's not super polished, but it's a decent game to play. It has a great story. Now, Final Fantasy 15 has had some issues on the development side. A couple of years ago, Square Enix fired their creative director for the Final Fantasy 15 game because of just some issues with essentially money, and they didn't like where the game was going. And so Final Fantasy 15 had scheduled 6 DLC to be released. They only finished the first 3, but the back 3 they never got to complete. So last week, in an attempt to essentially bridge the gap of a bunch of DLC they failed to complete, Square Enix novelized the last 3 DLC. It's called Final Fantasy: The Dawn of the Future. It came out a couple of weeks ago. It's a really interesting take on several different character stories. But if you guys didn't know, Final Fantasy has this thing of giving you a bunch of extra information outside of the game. You have to kind of seek out to get most of the story. That includes things like Kingsglaive, the movie that came out for Final Fantasy 15, and the 3 anime kind of cartoons they made for Noctis's friends. But essentially, this is a part of the story of Final Fantasy 15. If you guys are Final Fantasy 15 fans, want to learn more about the story, you got a new book.
See, we're cultured here.
We read.
At the Gaming Casuals, we read books. Look at this. This is not your average, instruction manual here. This is awesome.
This is a full-fledged story, and once again, a whole lot of fun, and definitely worth your time if you like Square Enix.
Or books.
I didn't even know Square Enix had a publishing company. Square Enix Books, y'all. Square Enix Books.
So expect more from Square Enix Books.
I'm expecting Balan Wonderland in a novel form because it'll perform so poorly.
We're going to get a lot of hate if people really like this Balan Wonderland game, or if it turns out to be amazing. So you heard it here, folks. All hate set to John here for the Balan Wonderland.
Hot take, Balan Wonderland's going to blow chunks. Anyway, outside of Final Fantasy and my bitterness towards Square Enix for not working on Episode 2 of Final Fantasy VII Remake, we've got an update for Sekiro. Now, I know you guys are honestly all gaming casuals, just like us, but let me tell you, Sekiro is a great game to play if you like just the brutality of feudal Japan and really just intricate gameplay. I know how much you love Sekiro, Brando.
I love it so much that I can't start the game because I don't want it to just be over.
Well, I got some news for you, Brandon. They have announced today that Sekiro is getting a free update in October.
Awesome.
With really what you wanted, a boss rush mode. So you can essentially play through every single boss in order and see how many you can get through before you die.
That's impressive.
Can you believe it? All the brutal bosses that you learn to love in Sekiro, you get to play all at once.
I am so excited that I don't know how I'm staying so composed right now.
Well, don't worry, Brandon. There's more to that update. Don't forget, there's also a mode that allows you to take replays and send them to other Sekiro players. So you can create essentially a phantom version of your gameplay and send it to a friend across the interwebs, and they can see how you defeat or reach some kind of obstacle. So if you're struggling on a platform section, or maybe you died to the demon of hatred one too many times, he's a giant orangutan of death, you can get a replay from a friend and tell you cool bro strats that you didn't even know.
Is that in the game, or is it talking about like YouTube?
No, that is in the game. That is all in the game.
So the little... Is his name Sekiro?
No. He's called the Wolf. But essentially, yes,
the Wolf.
Yes,
is
and
the
no.
Wolf?
Yes, and no.
Is the Wolf guy you play? I don't know. I have not played Sekiro. Is he? So the little ghost version of him is doing.
Yeah, the little
stuff?
phantom kind of runs through. Now in Dark Souls, it was interesting because you essentially you could examine pools of blood. That's their word, not mine. But you get to see these players fight these imaginary shadow boxing phantoms, and you see them eventually die to kind of warn you, hey, don't do what this guy did who just died here.
Gotcha.
Same thing with this Sekiro kind of replay thing, except it's meant to have players help each other, give them cool things to do outside of the game.
I will say, I am kidding. It sounds really cool if you are a fan of Sekiro. I have not played the game yet. John has played it 4 times.
Yep.
4 times?
I've actually platinumed Sekiro.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Which means that I got every single achievement, which required 4 playthroughs.
Excuse me, those are called trophies.
Yes, trophies. My bad. Achievables.
I'm trying to just ward off those comments ahead of time. It's a PlayStation game,
all you
guys.
angry PS5 people. I'm sorry.
But no, it sounds pretty cool. I always am a fan of when developers are always adding new content and new modes and new ways to play their games, even after they've released. And it's for free, I'm assuming, right? It's a free update.
It is a free update. Yep.
That's awesome. So this is something that it's always fun to do that and go back and revisit a game. So that's good for them.
And I know you guys probably aren't big into the streaming world, but Sekiro and in any Dark Souls game, any Dark Souls style game, they have this From Software kind of community-based thing. Like, people are streaming speed runs of Sekiro all the time and doing different things. Like, in the PC version, you can, like, multiply 20 million different bosses. Like, they have a whole genre of YouTube of just modded Sekiro games, just, like, pitting different bosses against each other. Like, Ashina versus, Gyozo, the Bull Rider, or whatever.
I love watching those kinds of videos on YouTube where you can just mod a game
10
and just
million
break
Tyrannosaurus Rex against 20 million chickens. The chickens win.
Those kinds of things are fun. I like it when they do stuff with like Zelda and Mario. I think there was a big Mario thing. I know we're gonna get into it right now, but it's just cool when you can see games that have been out there for a while and the community mods them and breaks it and finds new things. I am all down for videos like that. So.
With that, guys, it has been a great time. But before we end our segment today, Brandon, what have you been playing recently?
Don't ask me that because it's the same game.
Oh, no.
No, I'm still on Final Fantasy VII Remake, guys. I know. It's really depressing how slow I've been on this. But again, in my defense, I'm a casual gamer and I have 3 kids. Not a lot of time to play. So when I do play, I play good games like that. No, it's because the side quests. Every time I play that game,
you, dude. They totally get you.
I want to just skip through.
Don't disappoint Tifa.
The main
Don't disappoint
Aerith. Literally haven't seen Tifa in it feels like weeks because I've been in the Sector 7 slums with Aerith.
Stupid Aerith. I mean, darn you, Aerith.
No, I've been her bodyguard, just walk around trying to find kids and bring them back to school because they've been forgetting their schedules. I don't know. I'm playing the game. It's fun. I enjoy what I'm doing, but I'm ready to get back to the main story mode. And what little time I have to play, I can't resist the side quest urge. So I'll get through it, and then I'll get to the next one. I still got to play.
You're just a completionist, Brando. That's just who you are.
That's the worst kind of place to be when you don't have a lot of time to play games. So I'm going to get through it. There's a lot of games I do want to get to. I still haven't gotten to Borderlands 3, which I'm planning on doing. There's a lot of games. I want to go back through all the Halo story campaigns.
Me too.
Before
Let's
Halo
just
Infinite.
co-op, Brando.
We should totally do that. I'm not kidding. I want to do that with someone, just to go through and just knock out all 5 campaigns, yes, including Halo 5, because I want to remember that story.
I haven't even finished Halo 5's campaign, Brandon.
What?
No,
it's not.
I gave up after Halo 4's campaign.
Whatever. Anyway, but I would love to do that.
Crazy lady.
I would love to do that. What have you been playing?
I'm glad you asked. Well, in case you guys didn't know, based on the fact I totally plugged it earlier, I've been playing Ghost of Tsushima a lot. The game is a lot longer than Final Fantasy VII Remake, happy to say. Okay, so you get your money's worth playing the game. It is a totally different kind of game. I don't want to spoil it too much. I do go into an in-depth review on this. Link in the description below. But anyway, so like I've really enjoyed being able to play as Jin in feudal Japan. It's been a whole lot of fun. I get a whole lot of joy out of just, it's a good sit-down game and a good game to play. And it's very simple in execution. Perfect game to play if you're just enjoying a game for the sake of enjoying a game. Nice. The other game I've been playing, I have been going back through Final Fantasy 15 just because, of course, with the new novel coming out, I don't just want to refresh my knowledge of the story based on just the 5 pages they give you. Like,
you want to reimmerse yourself. I want to
reimmerse myself in the entire franchise. And what's interesting about the game is that I would just say for anyone who wants to play Final Fantasy 15, it's a really fun game. Just play through the story parts. Okay,
don't do what I do with games and get sucked into
Final
side
Fantasy
quests.
has always found a way to just like. The end game content just sends you down a deep, deep hole of never-ending stuff to complete. And I mean like every Final Fantasy game. Like I've been playing Final Fantasy X, one of the best Final Fantasy games on the market, but after you beat the main enemy of Final Fantasy X, once again, the whole world opens up. There's so much stuff you have to complete, like finishing your monsters glossary and getting all these medals and all this stuff that honestly is just meant to be a fan service thing. So if you were going to play Final Fantasy 15, the Royal Edition, I'd recommend playing through the game just for the stories. There's about 15 chapters. They're not super long. It doesn't get boring if you play just the actual story. And what's interesting is that throughout the actual game, you have characters come and go. They leave for certain chapters, and it's during that time that the DLC comes into play. So as an example, you have a friend named Gladiolus. He's your double-handed tank friend. And at some point in the story, he leaves the game and he goes and does his own thing. And you don't know what really happens if you just continue the story. But that if you just pause the game, go to the DLC, which is free on the Royal Edition, you can play Gladio's story. They're not all great DLCs, but they help you with the narrative. And then you just continue on your way. And it's been a lot of fun. It's a simple game. It's easy to pick up and put back down.
Okay. I'm going to have to try that one.
It's a good one.
All the time I have.
Guys, it's been a ton of fun telling you guys all about the Xbox Game Showcase and a lot of awesome gaming news coming your way and games coming soon.
Yes.
Brando, it's been a huge blast being able to look at all these great games like Halo Infinite and Fable and more. Guys, if you like this content, please consider subscribing. We make content all the time. You're not going to miss a single episode of our show. And if you like podcasts, we have an all-audio version wherever podcasts are provided. I like to say sold, but my producer hates it when I say that because, yes, podcasts are free. But we're on Apple, we're on Spotify, we're on Google Play, we're everywhere podcasts are delivered. And not only that, but guys, if you like what we do here, be sure to hit us up on Instagram at The Gaming Casuals. We post stuff there all the time. You want to chat us up, let us know about things you're thinking about. If you liked any of these games we announced, be sure to let us know down below in the comment section. We want to hear from you guys. And of course, have a great day, and we'll see you guys next time on another episode of The Gaming Casuals.